Almost every liberal I know suddenly really into Bad Bunny. People I've never heard say the words bad or bunny in their lives. Like, I can't wait for Bad Bunny. What's your favorite Bad Bunny song? I don't know, but I love them. Did I know any of the songs Bad Bunny was singing? Absolutely not. Never heard even 1 second of one of them.
You know you have messed up. You know you've made the wrong decision when Jim Kimmel isn't even willing to polish your turds. Jim Kimmel, the same Jim Kimmel who is allergic to the truth, the same Jim Kimmel who cries when I send Sanchez on a complimentary trip to Mexico, the same Jim Kimmel who broke down in tears last month when a soccer mom lost her life while interfering in an ICE operation. Or, as Jim preferred to call it between tears, an innocent mother lost her life taking her children to school. Jim Kimmel is never on the right side. This dude has made his living polishing the turd, but not even Jim Kimmel is willing to polish the bunny turd. You know, I hate to tell Uncle Roger I told you so. I'm normally not one to add another bruise to a severely bruised caboose, but I told you so. Hell, it wasn't just me. The entire country told you this would happen. Everyone saw this coming. Although the official ratings have not been released for the Anti-American Bowl, according to something called Samba TV, preliminary ratings are now available. More specifically, preliminary ratings are available for the halftime show, which is all anyone really cares about. The other night, my wife asked me what Turning Point USA would need to do to have an impact on the NFL. How would they get their attention? How many people would need to turn off the Super Bowl and watch the alternate halftime show for it to have a negative impact on the NFL? I told her, if Turning Point can steal 10% of the NFL's audience, that would get their attention. I know 10% doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about an audience of over 100 million people, 10% is a massive number. Now, to their credit, I guess Turning Point USA is filled with overachievers because 10% was not enough. According to Samba TV, as soon as Bad Booger took the stage, nearly half the NFL audience told Booger to get off my TV. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Let's go and get to the sponsor for today's video, my good friends at Sugar Mountain Trading. My uncle called me back in November. He's a military veteran, served in the Gulf War in the early 90s. As he's gotten older, been dealing with various health-related issues. Doctors had him on pain management, had him taking all this medication just to get him to sleep at night, most of which wasn't working. Once the meds wore off, he was tossing and turning all night. Plus, he was building up a tolerance. My aunt bought him some CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading. She wanted him to try it just to see if it would work. He applies the CBD lotion every night before he goes to bed. My uncle is getting the best sleep that he has gotten in years. He doesn't even take the pain medication anymore because he doesn't need it. Over the holidays, one of my longtime viewers reached out to me telling me how the CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading alleviated his back pain. He had been dealing with back pain for years, couldn't find anything that worked. Bought a bottle of CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading. 20 or so minutes later, back pain gone. I have countless stories from viewers, friends, family. Everyone tells me the same thing. They cannot believe this stuff actually works. There is a reason Sugar Mountain Trading has been with me for 18 months now. My audience keeps buying their CBD because Sugar Mountain Trading is the real deal. All CBD products offered at Sugar Mountain Trading, 100% natural, 100% free of THC. So click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Use my promo code BTL25, BTL25. Receive 25% off your first purchase with Sugar Mountain Trading. According to Samba TV, there were 48.6 million households that watched the Super Bowl on Sunday night. Now, just to be clear, that's not viewers. That's households. I'm guessing that's the number of TVs or devices that were watching the game on Sunday. But as you can see, something very interesting happened at halftime. As soon as Ben Acasio and his anti-American colleagues got on stage, all of a sudden, over 22 million devices turned the game off. Ratings were down nearly 40% compared to Ken Lamar's halftime performance last year. This could be a disaster for the NFL and NBC. Look, I don't know how contracts work when buying commercials for the Super Bowl, but typically, when advertisers are buying time, they are guaranteed a minimum number of viewers. Take my channel, for example. When sponsors buy time on my channel, I guarantee them a certain number of views on the video. If the video fails to reach that number, which rarely happens because Uncle KC is just that good, the reality is I'm not that good. I do fail to meet the minimum from time to time. And when that happens, I give the sponsor a make good, which is essentially a freebie. Again, I'm not sure if the NFL or NBC guarantees a certain number of viewers for the Super Bowl, but even if they don't, I can't imagine that advertisers are pleased with these numbers. Think about it. If you spent $8, $9, $10 million for a commercial to be run during halftime at the Super Bowl, and damn near half the audience doesn't see it, would you be happy? Would you be satisfied with that return on your investment? According to the media, the outrage with Bad Booger is all manufactured. They can't seem to understand why millions of people turned off this garbage. This performance was amazing! It was the best performance in the history of the Super Bowl! How can you criticize a man who preaches love over hatred? How can you criticize this innocent bunny who preaches a message of unity? If Green Day performed at halftime, the reaction would be just as visceral. The media is doing what they do best. The media is trying to make this a racial issue, but it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with the fact that Bad Booger hates America. For decades, the NFL has been the one league that belonged to us. The NBA has been a global league since the early 90s. Hockey has never really been fully embraced by Americans. Major League Baseball is making a comeback, but the biggest star in Major League Baseball is from Japan. Football has always been the one sport that was ours, and the Super Bowl was our event. But like I told you guys the other day, the Super Bowl no longer belongs to us because Roger Goodell has given it away. This is why I constantly complain about the abundance of international games in the regular season. It's not because I don't want fans in Europe to experience NFL games. I can't stand the international games because I know what they represent. I know the intent behind it, which is the globalization of the league. And the Super Bowl on Sunday was the end result of Uncle Roger's globalist dream. The question is, how much more are Americans willing to tolerate? How much more disrespect are Americans willing to put up with? According to these numbers from Samba TV, nearly half the NFL audience has had enough, at least for one night. But that is not enough. You know, divorce is usually a very gradual process. And I'm not talking about the act of divorce. I'm talking about everything that leads to divorce. Divorce is the end result. Divorce is the symptom to the underlying problem. Oftentimes, when a couple gets divorced, it's not because of a singular event. In most cases, divorce is caused by a series of mistakes, things that seemed minor in the moment that developed into something major over time. Think about the last 10 or so years in the NFL. Started 10 years ago. Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the national anthem. He gets blackballed from the league, so problem solved, right? 2020. The NFL proudly announces their dedication to diversity. They put these doofus messages in the end zone and on the backs of helmets. Inspire change and racism, choose love. Every year, we have the same complaints about the lack of black head coaches in the NFL or the lack of black quarterbacks, even though half the teams in the league had black quarterbacks going into the season. Since their dedication to diversity was announced, you know how many white performers have performed at halftime of the Super Bowl? Besides Eminem, who was a small part of an absolutely amazing performance with Dr. Dre and Snoopy Dogg back in 2022, besides Eminem, there has not been a single performer at halftime lacking melanin since Maroon 5 in 2019. Well, that doesn't sound very diverse to me. And look, I like rap music. Give me rappers at the Super Bowl over country music every year. I thought the halftime performance in 2022 was the best I have seen at the Super Bowl. But the NFL is claiming to be dedicated to diversity, and I just don't see much diversity. The point is, over the years, there have been these small grievances, these minor complaints. In the moment, they're not really a big deal, but then you add Bad Booger performing at halftime of the Super Bowl, the most divisive performer, the most controversial. Nearly half the audience turned it off, but will that carry over into next season? Could this be the beginning of America's divorce with the National Football League? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.